with further ado, I'm going to allow our guests to introduce themselves. When they are passing that mic down on the TikTok video that I was never able to get going, Adam is down for me. So we're going to go with Adam and then Eleanor, and then we're going to come back up to Amber. So Adam, you're on.
What is up, everybody? I am super happy to be here. My name is Adam Hunt. I am reporting live from Dallas, Texas. Professionally, I am a recruiter. I have worked at some great companies, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines. Most recently, I am at Tesla supporting our internship program. I love recruiting. It is a passion for me. I don't think I could do anything else. So when Joyce came and asked me to give my opinion, recruiters were really good at doing that. So I'm super excited to be here. On a personal note, like I said, live in Dallas. I am a proud LGBT member of the community, and I have 2 dogs, a cat, and an awesome husband here in Dallas supporting me. So that's me. And I'm going to pass it over. Was it to Eleanor or Amber?
Eleanor. You're on mute. We can't hear you, Eleanor. Is your mic connected? Good. Uh-oh, you're just talking. We just heard you, and now we can't hear you. Let's hop up to. I heard something. I heard some static. That may be you. Now unmute your phone. Now you just need to unmute. Yes. Amber, why don't you go ahead and we'll come back to Eleanor.
All right. Hey there. There's always got to be a Zoom or a technology challenge in every meeting, right? So
it's the virtual world. We just go with it.
Ding, ding, ding. You win the king cake. All right. So my name is Amber Boone, and I am here in St. Pete, also a very proud member of the LGBT community. And I have 2 dogs as well. Working on this relationship thing, so we'll see. Been in sales since God was in junior high, and working for a sales innovation lab. And they said, hey, are you interested in recruiting? And I was like, I don't know, let's see. And so now I sell sales to salespeople is how I describe it. So really excited to give a very recruiter view on this panel. And thanks for having me.
Welcome aboard. Love it. Like sales to salespeople, because the recruiter is one of those hidden sales jobs that I have in my book, Why Sales for College Students, because I want them to understand when they get into recruiting, there is a sales component to it. So Eleanor, you ready to go?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay. Sorry about that. As you mentioned, Amber, always some, Zoom problems. Today was me. Sorry about that, guys. But super nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me. So my name is Eleonore Collet. I'm French, but I'm a recruiter and HR professional, here in the US. Currently work for Badger Maps, and we're, a sales software company. I'm very sad to announce I do not own dogs. However, I feel very left out and a little bit jealous because, definitely a dog lover here.
I don't.
Well, thank you. At least, we're 2 here, but super excited to be here. And yeah, I'm also a passionate recruiter and HR professional, and super excited about, today's conversation.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get things started. So again, fan favorite for Why Sales Network is this Meet the Recruiter. When I created the Meet the Recruiter platform panel, I really wanted people to understand that the recruiter in a lot of cases is the gatekeeper, the influencer to them getting a job. And it was important for them to show up in their best self when communicating and working with the recruiter. With that said, I'm going to start off with recruiter pet peeves because we want to tell them what to do, but we also want to tell them what not to do. So we're going to start out with not to do, and then we'll get more into the what to do. I thought it'd be fun to start off with a recruiter pet peeve. So Adam, what's the pet peeve?
So I have a few pet peeves that lead into exactly what you said, like advice, right? So yes. I do a lot of high volume, so get a lot of applicants that we need to sift through. So a big thing for me, name your resume with your name, right? First and last name. I hate editing names, but I don't want to send my managers resumes that just say resume 1, resume 2, resume 2022. Also, I definitely suggest PDF format. You spend a lot of time making it super pretty and formatting it. Well, our systems eat that up and do this. When you do PDF, it kind of locks things down a little bit better. So I'm going to save some more. I have a million, but I'm going to let my other two friends give in. But if you want to come back to me, yes.
We'll come back to the other ones. Amber, give us a pet peeve.
Sure. So I don't have a whole lot, but I will say sending a resume in Comic Sans is probably not a good way to go about it. And then let's see, any type of embellishment, we're going to be able to sniff out, just like you can sniff out any BS, we can too. So if you're embellishing, just don't. We'd rather know you, the person.
Right, just don't. So the sans, I was not expecting that one, Amber. But if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that makes your letters look like kind of cartoonish, right? Kind of like a comic book. So any recommendations for them? And the fonts, and we're talking about fonts, people. There's different fonts that you should and should not, put your use for your resume. So any recommendations, Amber?
Well, it's got to be readable, right? So for me, I'm a huge Garamond fan, but they don't have it anymore. So I guess, like a New York Times or something really clean,
Okay. All righty. So you guys got that. The font is important. And when you're presenting your resume. Eleanor, give us a pet peeve.
Kind of similar to the one Adams mentioned with the basically misspelling or having the wrong, name in different things, whether it's the name of the recruiter when you email them back. Huge pet peeve for me. Maybe it's also because my name is not American, so it happens more, but not a great first impression. And also whenever you do a cover letter or you customize your resume for the company and you forgot to edit the name of the previous company you sent your resume to, very bad first impression as well. So I would say those are one of the two that I can mention today.
So when and that's happened to the best of us, because that's happened to me. And it's like when I'm sending out invites sometimes, right? And you copy and paste the invite and you're like, hey, so-and-so, here's this or whatever. And then you forgot to put the new so-and-so name and just like, dang it, I can't believe I did that. And, Eleanor, I'm just going to, give them a little, what we have to do is before we hit send, because I'm really fast at hitting that send button, right? And when I hit that send button, sometimes I realize that Apple has corrected the spelling of a person's name to what Apple thinks it is, right? Because I use Apple products, not promote Apple, but I use Apple products, right? And it just drives me mad. So I think we have to take an extra minute or two and go through those things again. I don't know, for some reason, when I'm writing the word for, F-O-R, Apple auto corrects and put like Dior, like if I'm buying some Dior fragrance or something, I don't even use Dior, so that drives me mad as well. So so when you guys are when you're sending something to the recruiter, make sure you get the spelling of their name correct. Very important. So I'm really thrown off when you guys said misspelling their own name though. That one's I just don't know what to say. Spell your own name. And I agree. I totally agree with the writing your name and the resume. I always put Joyce Johnson profile, Joyce Johnson resume, Joyce Johnson. And so, hone into that, you guys. So, Adam, I've sent you my resume. You sent me a note back and said that you're interested and that we're going to set up a time to move forward. What's the best way to do that? I know now we use these tools for individuals to get on our calendars. I know that sometimes we say, give us some dates and times. I find a pet peeve of mine is when you set up an interview and then people, even if it's a meeting, and then they change the time several times. So how do you receive that as a recruiter when you set up a time, or does that even happen to you guys as recruiters? Adam, if you go first, does it happen to you that when you set up a time with someone, they contact you back and want to reschedule for a different time? And how tolerant are you of that?
Well, I'm going to be totally transparent. I have it on both sides of the fence. So I have my managers who are super busy doing the work and supporting the business, who sometimes things come up, and whether I deem them more appropriate or better than an interview, that's maybe not my place, but that's why we are like the matchmakers, the gatekeeper, the middlemen, right? Middlemen and women. I think we're like Millionaire Matchmaker, you know, that TV show that used to be on. So like, I feel like that's,
I do.
So then I have some flexibility there, right? I always assume positive intent. I always extend grace to people. And I have the same sentiments on the candidate side. Like, I know, like, the best candidates are probably doing work, are probably super busy, super engaged with their job, and things come up for me. So I'm just flexible in that regard. I always ask the right questions. I always clarify when's a better time. And I always get next steps in motion right away because, you know, we're in a time-driven world. But for me, I'm always about extending grace. So as long as it's valid, I have had habitual, like, continue rescheduling. And then you got to get a read between the lines. Like, are they entertaining another offer and they're trying to drag their feet, or what's going on? So you just ask the right questions, assume positive intent, extend grace. And I think that's been excellent in my world.
I love that. I love that. I just love the terminology of when you say extend grace, right? Because you know what, sometimes things happen, right? And it doesn't mean that they're not a great candidate. It doesn't mean that they aren't passionate about the role. It just means that sometimes things happen, you know, and they do. Anyone else handles that differently?
I usually take it a little bit harder on my managers that want to reschedule. So I'm a little bit more strict with them. But yeah, absolutely. We use Calendly as a booking assistant. And so it's really easy if the applicant needs to reschedule with me for a screening interview or an interview, then it's super simple and, you know, highly recommend them picking the right time. Now, if it's between the applicant and the hiring manager, does get a little bit more wonky because a lot of our hiring managers have, you know, only 1 or 2 hours available throughout the week. So it can get a little tricky then, but, you know, absolutely. I love that, Adam, assuming positive intent and extending grace. I'm stealing it.
I know. I love it. It's like, you know, the love.
Well, I just have to say, like, it gets rid of all that negative energy and thoughts that you just kind of come to you as a human, and it like puts you in a positive place. And I don't know about you, but like, I just feel better when I'm having good thoughts running through my head.
Absolutely. I agree to that for sure. So, I coach a lot of people, sales professionals, college students that are moving into roles. And, a lot of them don't really understand what the role of the recruiter is. So I'm going to back up a little bit and say, because I know that at different companies, it looks different, but let's talk about the role of the recruiter and, what are your what's expected of you and your objectives when you're recruiting. Amber, you want to kick that off?
Sure. So find the right people in a very, very short time. That is basically it, right? We definitely want to measure a lot of things, just like a salesperson. We need to know our numbers. Have our applicants per hire gone up? Has our cost per hire gone up or down? Is the job description still accurate? Those are all things that go into the role. But really, when you break it down, we've got numbers to meet, just like any sales pro does.
Wow, we don't went from recruiter to I've said it. I have said it. Like I said, I've written it. It's in my book that the recruiter is a hidden sales job, right? And that there's an aspects to it, but it's more people touch than most sales jobs. But it's just, so you're like coming from my heart right now, Amber. When you say that you guys have numbers. Eleanor.
Yeah, so I mean, on my side, in the current company that I'm at, we don't have as much, as strict numbers to reach. We do have goals though, and headcounts to meet. I think for me, the goal of the recruiter, at least in my current company, is to find this genuine match between candidates and a job. I'm adding genuine in there because I feel like it goes both ways. We have to choose the candidate, they have to choose us as well. We need to make sure, it's a match on all levels, and not just, with, abilities and potential, but also in terms of, mindset, personality, and just general, fit within a team. So I think that would be the goal.
Awesome. Adam, right now you're interviewing my favorite group of people, college students, and you're placing them in internships and things. And when I see their resumes, often I give them bullets and coaching like right away, right? Because I do think that there's a gap in the career development side of the house and getting them to transition into the workplace. And that's what I focus on when I'm mentoring them. So when you are working with college students, is your approach a little different now from it was before?
Oh yeah, I would say definitely. One, just the style of recruiting and how we find the talent and engage with them is super different. And just to be frank, the needs of me and you, or me and my awesome panelists, when we're looking for a next job, is going to be totally different than the needs and wants and desires of those early career intern talent. So it's really a big relationship game, establishing like what they're passionate about, right? Because they may start in one area of our business, but probably end up maybe converting in another area. So getting like a holistic, kind of approach to our intern hiring and just getting awesome talent into the org, and then kind of being able to test them out and get them acclimated to all of our systems and stuff is something I'm really passionate about.
I like that, because I know some companies, if they used to have this, well, they do still have it with interns, where you can come in and you can go from one role to another, sort of a rotational type internship where you can see different areas of the company to see where you really fit. But what I'm really liking right now is that companies are also doing that for more experienced applicants, to see where they fit and how they can impact different departments. And why I love that is because I share with people all the time, don't focus on the job title, focus on the expectations of the role and see if that aligns with your core and who you are and where you want to be. So I'm liking what I'm hearing with how you approach the college kids, but I also like that they're doing that at the more experienced level. Does any of your companies offer those rotational type programs? Amber, do you guys have one?
We actually don't really have an internship program. We're about 150 head count, and
Okay.
yeah, really don't have anything set up, but I'm trying to get it done.
Well, let's talk about that. I'll help you with that. Eleanor, I know you guys, I was sharing with someone that I just love how you guys have approached everything in this pandemic. And you guys actually did a survey with your employees to see if they wanted to go back in person. And everyone was like an overwhelmingly yes. But then the internship program that you guys were going to host that virtually. And so do you guys have a rotational program?
So not exactly, not as formally as this. However, we do have an internship program. We've developed it very much and invested a lot into it. And for some teams, for certain roles, specifically marketing, I have in mind, we're going to have a marketing internship where candidates and in that case interns get to also kind of like pick a little bit which areas in marketing they can explore. As you guys know marketing is super, like, there's a lot of variety out there. You can do so many things in marketing, and within the team we offer kind of like that flexibility and autonomy in discovering your interests, and hopefully we get to match this with different projects and offering you the chance to kind of like rotate in that informal way. So no formal program there, but we're taking a little bit of that.
Well, maybe I just gave you guys an idea, right?
Maybe you did.
You and Steve just call me. We'll talk about it, and we'll put something together for you guys that looks good and be able to benefit the students. But I also, like I said, I would like to see companies continue to do it also with more experienced individuals and individuals looking to be in that leadership role, right? What does skill look like there, and how they can go from place to place within your organization to hone into their skill set as well. So anyone that's listening, and you guys, well, everyone's listening. I think I'm not sure if we went live. We're going to go live, but if anyone has any questions, we want to answer your questions for you. I think that was the great part about this particular panel last year when we did it again mid-year, is that the recruiters were able to really talk to individuals real time. If you raise your hand, we could bring you on so we can hear your voice while you ask. But we're here to help you. And if you need to ask a question for someone else, hey, we're open for that too. So and you can put it in chat or you can raise your hands and we'd be happy to hear from you. So my next question for you guys is that when you're in the recruiting process, how much, I know a lot of times I'm coaching people to kind of get that how much it pays and those tough questions out of the way sooner than later, especially to experienced people, because they know if there's too big of a gap there, that they can, say yay or nay and move forward with time, right? And save you guys time from going through too many interviews and save them time. How open are you guys to sharing that information? When do you think is important to share that information with a candidate? Adam?
Well, I hope I'm going to speak for my crew, but I always discuss it on the front end because I'm held to numbers and metrics. I have headcount that I need to fill, and getting someone all the way down this runway only for their plane not to take off. Now I have to go through the whole process all over again. So I will be cautious though. There is a little bit of the recruiter and HR in me that candidates have a disconnect on what compensation is and what total compensation is. And until they really chat with the team and see what the career progression and the development will look like. And then also, depending on the organization, they may not share benefit information right away with candidates. So that's, we might have our hands tied. So you might not have the full picture on what your compensation will look like. I have those conversations. I try to articulate it, but I do think it is a range. I do think it is a flexible area for us to work within, if that makes any sense.
It makes all the sense in the world. And I want to come back to what you talked about, total compensation. So let's get Amber and Eleonore to respond to that. And then let's come back and talk about that total compensation, because I think that's really important. And a lot of people don't understand it. Matter of fact, sometimes the recruiters don't understand it when you say that, you'll put in an app and they want you to say, well, how much do you want to earn? And they just want that flat number. Well, I'm looking at total compensation. And so then they're like, no, but let's talk about that. Eleanor, what do you think? When do you think is a great time to engage in that conversation around pay and benefits?
Yeah, I agree with Adam. I think early on is a good time. For me, it's, during the first stage, the first full on interview, not, when you reach out to them necessarily, but, at least in the first full conversation I usually do this just at the end of that conversation though. So I can still, get to know the person, introduce also myself and the company and start selling the company a little bit too. And then at the end of that first conversation, yes, I bring up the money talk and just to see what their expectations are. It's never about also figuring out the number or the global package, but at least, getting a range in mind and just making sure the expectations are within the same reasonable, range that we can agree on. So I agree with Adam 100%.
And Amber, your thoughts?
Well, I'd love to be the dissenter, but no. Yeah. So yeah, we are very upfront. Oftentimes, we will even advertise what the compensation is, just so that nobody's being, feel like a bait and switch or anything like that.
Right.
So if I notice that someone is extraordinarily overqualified for the job, that's not a ding, but I will sometimes, even in my first reach out, go, hey, just so you know, what you applied for is in this range, and with your experience, that might not be in your ballpark, but what we're doing is offer X, Y, and Z. And one of the great things that makes it easier for my job is that we do offer paid medical insurance, profit share, and other items that I can be totally upfront with on the first conversation, and also even advertise those things as well. So generally speaking, I hate when companies try to keep it behind the scenes and go on the second or the third interview, because time is money. And if we're barking up the wrong tree, it's not helping anybody.
Right. And the reason I ask you guys this is not because, recruiters are pushing back so much, but I have a hard time pushing people to have the conversation. People are just, oh, should I? They're afraid to ask, and they're afraid to have the money conversation. And I talk to people all the time. I'm like, look, this is two ways. This works both ways. The company's interviewing you and you're interviewing them. And it's important that you don't waste their time, or, spend a lot of your time if it's not going to be a match, right? And so I'm always encouraging people to have that conversation. And I'm surprised at how many people are just uncomfortable having that conversation early on. They're like, well, I think after I talk to them again, so you're going to spend, especially when we were driving, right now we're not driving, but we were driving, you're going to spend 2.5 days, right, going on an interview that may not be a match for you financially. But with that said, let's talk about total compensation, right? I'm so happy you brought that up, Adam, because there is a thing with total compensation that I think sometimes people miss. And I share this with individuals, like sometimes they think that they're working with a company that may be a big boss company. So I'll share this story with you. Had a student working at Nike in the retail store in one of the malls. He was graduating from college and he wanted to work for a sports company or in sports. He wanted to work in sports, but he wasn't taking his job at Nike retail store very serious, being very respectful to the job as I was sharing with him. And so I had to walk him down the line. Like, if you're really wanting to be in sports, what bigger brand is there than Nike, right? Just because you're in the retail segment, use that, don't disregard that. Use that to your advantage. Use that to talk to the company recruiters. Use that to go into the website internally, right? And look at, so when you're talking about total compensation, I'm also talking about total opportunity, right? So why go look for a job at another company when you want to be in sports when you're at Nike? And then I didn't know he had quit the job at Nike. He was like, well, do I go back? I said, will they have you back? Were you a good employee? Did you give them a 2-week notice? Did you tell them why? But even, in some of our more experienced sellers, I hear people, wanting so much about that bottom number that they don't take in consideration profit sharing and those things. So if you guys are able to share, I would like for you to share, 1 or 2 other benefits of your organization that you guys put into your total compensation that would help close a candidate. Amber, would you kick us off with that?
Sure. Yeah. So these standards are, of course, your health, medical, and dental, that kind of thing. Being able to talk about paid medical insurance is really, really awesome. One of the things that I think might be often overlooked is that growth potential, like you said. So one of the things I'll point out is that we've recently invested in a talent development manager for the entire corporation, and that person is here to create career paths for every individual in the company. And it could be lateral, it could be sales management, it could be business intelligence, it can be a variety of things, but we are willing to invest in you as long as you're willing to invest in yourself. And so for us, that's a really big one. Almost everyone here at Inside Out, when you ask them what they love the community and they love the growth potential, the growth mindedness of it.
Absolutely, because when you're at some companies, even the Walmart of the world, you can travel and relocate and move up and around, into different roles without ever leaving the company. You can map out your entire career with one company. So I always encourage people to think about that and to think about what can be their next move internally initially versus externally. Eleonore, what are some of the things that you guys offer as your total compensation package?
Yeah, so the things that we offer, as Amber mentioned, full benefits with, health insurance. We also have a 401k, package that we offer, also stock options for us. So that's also something maybe new to add to the conversation. And I want to circle back to what Amber said with, career path and career opportunities. I think this is huge, very often, not considered enough. And we are currently, for example, right now working on building those career paths. I'm doing this myself, for the company at this very moment for the marketing and sales teams. So exciting to do this and to bring this, to employees, because it does give you so many more perspectives into, how your role can transform and other skills you can gain and promotions and so on and so on. So I would say that's the full picture for us.
And we just had a panel from sales to the C-suite, right? So it's real career pathing is really important, and to have for individuals within your organization to be able to say, in order to get to this role, here's a good path for you to take within the organization. So if your dream or expectations, what have you, is to be the vice president, the CEO, what have you, here's a career path you can take internally to help you get there. So you have your hands full. That's a big job. That's a big ask, but you have your hands full, but it is much needed, because a lot of times when individuals talk about their annual reviews and things like that, they say that they don't really know where they need to go from there. They don't know what the next step should be within organization. So the fact that you guys are investing in that, putting together that type of program for career pathing, that's huge. Adam?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And I'll say it boils down to exactly what my teammate said, tangibles and intangibles, right? So it's the benefits, it's the stock options, it's that. And then it's the career progression. It's like it used to be, do you have ping pong tables in your office? And now it's like, what does that work-life balance and flexibility look like, right? But I think the catalyst that I want to share is that true sales, right? Like I meet my candidates where they're at. Not each candidate is the same or is that conversation's going to look the same. So when I discuss total compensation with the Joyce, it's going to be totally different than maybe an Eleanor or than an Amber, because y'all are at different places in your career, value different things, are different people. And, I am the relationship guy. I'm that matchmaker. I get to know you, and then I sales pitch you with all these tools that I have in my background, right? So I think that's another thing I love about being a recruiter, is those conversations are never the same.
They're never the same. And I'm so happy that you said that, because I love that approach also, right? That you're getting to know each individual. And, as a leader in business, I've always asked, individuals, what motivates you? Why are you here, right? Why are you here? What motivates you? What's important for you to you? And a lot of times they would say, oh, money. And I'm like, no, what are you going to do with the money? Right? It's not the money. It's what money's a tool. What are you going to do with the money, right? What do you need the money for? And that conversation was always different with every individual on my team. And we were always able to put together something together for each individual based on that. And what I would also love is that then it gave me insight to say, okay, you're closer to buying that home. You're closer to your spouse staying at home and not working. You're closer to, that college fund, whatever that was, vacation or whatever it was. But I love that you take that approach, because I think it's important that, those relationships are built, because a lot of times I've heard from people, I've heard on both sides. When they come into a company, the recruiter is still a go-to for them. They've built such a strong relationship. And then I've also heard that when they came into a company, they didn't think that they had, connected with the recruiter. But that's why I love the three of you, because I believe that you are connectors and you will stay connected. And that even the people that we're providing access to today on this panel will be able to read your posts, read your articles, read whatever you guys put out, and learn from you. So, thank you guys, for that. Do we have any questions yet? Anyone raise their hand or put anything in chat? It's hard for me to look at the camera up there and look down. So I'm going to take a peek here and see, what's taking place. I don't see anything yet. Am I missing anything, team? Nope, not missing anything. So I'm going to continue with the conversation. So for your audience, what are, one or two tips you share with your audience on best practices for engaging and working with you as a recruiter? Eleanor.
Yeah, so many things. I feel like there's so much to say here. I'm just gonna go with two things. I think first about resumes and how to engage with us through your resumes and applications, and then something else maybe about interviews super briefly. When it comes to resumes, one tip I have for everyone is using keywords, looking at the job description of the company you're applying for, getting those keywords, putting them in your resume, as easy as that. That's how you catch our attention. You help us basically do our job faster and better and so much easier for everyone. So definitely do that, I think. Second tip maybe here for during the interview, same principle here, help us do our job and find this match faster by basically preparing and working on presenting your experience in the most convincing way, because I believe all experiences are super interesting and bring a lot, to the table, whatever those are, academic, professional, and just working on presenting those in a very convincing way helps us a ton. So I would say those are my two main tips.
Absolutely. So do you think that, I say this, we say this a lot in sales, that we're looking for what your accomplishments are, right? We know what the job duties are, and we're looking for what you accomplished, not only what, but how you went about doing so. So if you can story tell that in your resume to help us get that connection, I think it's a win.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. And showing your takeaways, basically, the takeaways from your experience, and not just basically describing, the tasks and the responsibilities. Because, this we can also see in the resume. But when you don't bring that into the interview. Bring the takeaways. Bring what we can't see from the resume to add, and make this even more convincing.
Love it. Love it. Amber, what did you think you'd like to share with your audience on how best to engage you?
Yeah, so absolutely, Eleanor. I want to build on your tip on the resume. Not only should you use the keywords in the job description to build each resume for your top targets, but one thing that I've seen is you can put a cover letter at the top of your resume, and that keeps recruiters from having to click a couple of different documents to see your cover letter. So put that cover letter at the top, make sure it's appropriately addressed, and put in some of the highlights or the more subjective things about you as a person and why you're interested in the job. So that's going to be my resume tip. Interview tip. You nailed it again. Become prepared. I love it when folks come in with a question that show they did their homework, that they researched the company, and they've got a question that not only demonstrates that, but a business acumen or thoughtfulness about what their role would look like and what maybe their struggles will be. Absolutely love when people are prepared. If you haven't been to the website and you're a salesperson interviewing for a sales role, you have put yourself not only behind the 8 ball, but probably even on the wrong table.
Absolutely agree. 100% agree. And not only if you're a salesperson, any person, and you haven't gone and looked at the website, right now during this time, a pet peeve of mine is that I'll have coaches, want to coach me, or people want to sell me something about my business. And I get on the phone with them and they haven't looked at my website and they know nothing about the business or the brand. And I'm just like, I just can't believe you blocked time on my calendar. So, that's elementary. That's the ABC 1, 2, 3, right? Go to the website. And then, I love the tip though of putting your cover letter on your resume. I like that, versus having multiple documents, so I do like that when you're email, of course, in person, you take a couple different documents, but I like that. So then that way it's only one click for you guys. That was new for me. I hadn't heard that.
It's a new thing that I've seen in the past year, but I love it. And if I ever have to look for another job, I'm doing it.
I think it's a great thing. So love that. Adam. And do you guys just love Adam's hat he's sporting today? He's rocking
my summer hat.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome. Well, I have a few thoughts. So first, to kind of build upon my awesome co-panelists, some of the best things that I've seen in an interview is not necessarily anything they said in the interview. Obviously, that's a part of it. But to leave a lasting impression, I've had people, this isn't time in person, emails appropriate as well. But let's say you're an engineering applicant. I've had people bring like work samples and like put it in a little portfolio. And then when they left the interview, they're like, hey, I wanted to give you this. It's a little overview of my work and you can take it and that's reading material. If they have 8 interviews and one person does that, who's going to stick in their head? Also, another fun thing, maybe not for an engineering type role, but more like a professional type role. I've had somebody at one of my past companies take the core values and write bullet points under each of them on how they exemplify each of our core values. And that's what they delivered to us at the end of the interview. This could be done by email or in person or however, but like, it's those little things that like when all else is equal, you wouldn't be interviewing if you didn't have the skills. Like, you know, it just exemplifies your performance. And it's like, that's the person who went the extra mile. And if they do it for an interview, they're definitely going to do it when they're my employee. So
I love that.
So that's like that. And then to your formal question, engagement, how can people engage? I'll go a different direction with this. I get a lot of outreach and networking on like LinkedIn or like social media. So like I do have some advice or guidance on how to best manage that. And my biggest advice, and I hope you all are seeing it today, us recruiters are people too. We're not just job filling robots. Like I am in this to get to know you and like establish that relationship. So like when people approach me and like their only avenue is they think I'm a job filling robot, you know, then I'm, you know, that's maybe the caliber of effort I'm going to go into that message. Right. But if somebody like reaches out and they're like, oh, I looked at your background. I saw you did this. That's awesome. I like that. But like, I'm also interested in a job at your company. Like, what a great way to like do both. Right. Like, I'm just a huge fan of kind of establishing that relationship, kind of know we're people on the other end and we want what's best for everybody. So that's my advice for outreach and network.
You know, that's one of my tips in my book, you know, 5 things you need to know to get a job today is know your audience. Know the person that's on the other side of the phone, the other side of the email, you know, build that rapport, know something personal about them. Really, how much time does it take to look at someone's LinkedIn and see the different jobs that they've had, right? And to even be able to say, you know what, Amber, I loved your LinkedIn cover. It was awesome. Right? I love the quote that you had. I loved how you described yourself, you know, really connect. And I hadn't heard the core values one. Love it. Right? Love it. When you take the core values of a company and you tell them how you fit into their core values. To me, that's a home run. That's a home run. That's like Larry Long would say, that's out the ballpark, right? That's a home run. I love that. I hadn't heard that one. I love it. You know, for myself, I've always tried to stand out when I was interviewing. I've gone in, if it was internal, I may have written a 120-day plan. I give everyone a list of the books I've written or the articles that I've written on LinkedIn that pertains to the job they had so they can kind of know my insight and my level of leadership and how I like to operate and how that ties into what their expectations for the job is, right? And I've also, if there's a panel of people that I'm talking to, if there's 4 people interviewing me, I am going to have a personal letter for each one of those people to leave with them. The resume is going to be the same, but that letter is going to be different. And each letter is going to tie into something that I've learned personally about them that connects them to me and that story. And I'm also going to utilize that information during the interviewing process to build that rapport with each individual. So I love that, Adam. The core values. I hope the team is typing that one in.
And I want to your awesome sentiments there gave me one more idea that I want to share.
Go right ahead.
It's really hard for people to brag about themselves or talk themselves up, and it's not a natural thing. So there are 2 times in your life where I feel you need to brag and you need to boast yourself up, and that is job interviews and performance reviews. So muster up that strength, know how awesome you are, and own it. I
love that. You're absolutely right. If there's ever a time to brag on yourself, it's in that job interview and it's in that performance review. You know, one of the things I've done throughout the year, and you guys may have tips for this, whenever someone would send me something like hooray, Joyce, you did this, you're awesome, I would put it in one folder and I would save all of those. Right. And I would also, when I, closed a big deal or something out of the box that was really important to the business and what the company expected, I would put that in that box as well. Because by the time that year came by or that half a year, I wanted to make sure that I had that information and I can brag on myself. Right. Because the month before may not have been too great. But they're going to know the value that I brought to the table throughout that year and what I've done. And they're going to know that my customers gave me a pat on the back. My customers are going to say, my customer said that I made this deal with this company because of you and you, because the team that you put together and they did X, Y, Z. I'm going to brag about that. I'm going to brag about it till they tell me stop talking. So I love that. There are some times you can brag about yourself. So one of the things that I have in my book, about getting a job is closing. I'm a sales professional. You guys are sales professionals. I just feel like if you don't ask me for the job, you're not going to ask for the deal. What do you guys think about that? And give me probably the most creative, give me the most creative way that someone's tried to close you for the job, and tell me if people actually try to close you for the job. Amber, you just said you're selling sales. So have those salespeople tried to close you for the job?
Oh, absolutely. And if they don't, then I, like you said, I do wonder if they're not following a good sales process throughout the whole spiel, right? So I'm 98% of my job is interviewing salespeople and sales managers. So if they're not, starting to build rapport immediately, if they're not asking great discovery questions, and especially if they're not going in for the close, then I have concerns. I've had folks who with no sales experience at all follow the sales process perfectly. And those are the folks that will take more of a chance on just because they have that natural propensity, right?
Right.
Probably the best close that I usually get is when people do the assumption and go, all right, so would you like me to start on, Monday or the following Monday? Or they'll have like the date set up. I'm a sucker for the trial close as well. So, what would keep me from, moving forward? Or are there any other tips for my next step in the process? Those are all great ones. Probably the most creative one is the either or, which start date. I like that one.
Yeah, I've heard the start date, but I haven't heard where they give you the option. I like that. I like that too. Adam.
Well, I'm going to say I am not a sales guy, right? Like I am a sales from being a recruiter, but like I am so like enthralled by Amber's career path and how she's in recruiting right now. I think that's super amazing. But I think I get closed kind of like the thank you notes, right? Like I think that's my biggest like closing area. And when I'm interviewing, I always like to put the power in their hands and make them feel like, oh, I'm super excited and I hope to get moved forward. So like I'm maybe a little bit on the opposite side, but I always forward thank you notes. And when they are, especially in environments like I work in now that are super fast paced and like cutthroat, and they're just going like all in on that thank you note. And like, based on our conversations, I did this, they throw in some of those attachments that we talked about and are like, they thought about it more after their interview instead of just going back to their day. Like that is the sell to me. And like, that speaks not only to me, but also our leaders.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're going to follow up, right? A big part of sales. I say get up, show up, and follow up. I mean, it's not that simple, but really, it is. So if they followed up with you in a thank you note and said that, hey, I took some of your advice and I moved forward with X, Y, and Z, I think that's huge because you also, especially with the young people that you're interviewing, you want to know that they're coachable, right? That's a big thing. We need to know that you're coachable. We need to know that you're going to take on, what's that, Adam? What are you doing?
Humble, hungry, and smart. Humble, hungry, and smart. All the things that managers tell me they want boil down to those three things in kind of my world. So,
right. And that resourceful for me, smart and resourceful. If I had a pet peeve, is that one thing when you ask someone to do something, they do that one thing and they don't push it any further, right? It's like, oh, I did what you said. Okay, well, you had an opportunity to push it a little bit more, right? To go to the next level. But I did what you said. I checked that box, right? I want you to be resourceful. I want you to figure out, okay, well, if I do this, how could I make it better? How could I expand upon it to make, the team look better or what we're doing? So I like that. Eleonore.
Yeah, based on what both of you guys said, I don't think I have like this crazy experience with this candidate who tried closing the deal super creatively. But I think something that really stands out to me with candidates is definitely those thank you notes, with actually kind of like two things, the thank you, but obviously also like going that extra step, reflecting on the interview and adding, additional resources, a portfolio, or maybe just, I've had this before, a candidate sending me articles, the links to articles about topics that we discussed during the interview. Not too complicated, doesn't require a huge, portfolio or something, but it really shows, you invested time and effort. It's convincing to me. And then the second thing for me to include in those thank you notes is feedback, asking for feedback, and it's kind of what you said, Amber, if I was to go to the next step, what would be something that would be helpful for me? And just kind of like dropping this as well in the email, anything I can take on to the next stage or anything I can learn from, with, asking the recruiter from their perspective, I think is also, it's great. It shows great, feedback ability, and it's something that we look for in my company. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, so I would go with that as well.
I love that, providing those articles and things, and, just maybe some insight to, competition, like I said, and following up on that conversation about what you did. And, but all boils down again, that follow-up, right? Just sending that thank you note and having that follow-up to say, thank you for your time, right? Thank you for investing in me. And it's worked, I appreciate it. And I want you to know that it's worth your time to invest in me. And here's why. And I look forward to reconnecting. I look forward to joining your team. Because I look forward to joining your team, right? And, I've had some of everything when the closes from, what is it about me that you see on your, how do you think I can make your team better, right? And I like that in particular because now you're asking the recruiter or the hiring manager to visualize you being on their team, right? And now they're going to repeat back to you why they should be on you should be on their team. It's a trial close. And then they repeat back to you. They're writing it down as well as this candidate could probably fit in well here, right? I need a seasoned person on my team that can offer, help me with training and development. I need a person that has the industry knowledge or whatever they're looking for, and help them kind of guide through that. So I like the trial closes that way. I like when individuals say, okay, well, when would you like me to, like you said, when would you like me to start? I think that's great because you're saying they're going to either give you an answer or they're going to say, oh, well, I have to talk to some more candidates. So you may want to be strong with that and say, again, why would you want me on your team? How would you see me on your team? And if it was, and then the follow-up question, when they do say, well, I need to talk to more people based on who you've talked to already in my skill set, is there a reason you wouldn't want to hire me? And if they give you a reason why not to hire you or why you're not a good fit, you take a note of that, and it's a way for you to come back and say, oh, I maybe miss sharing that information with you, right? But here's some information to share. So I love the trial closes, and I just think you need to ask for the job in some form, in some way, because I also think it complements the organization and let them know that you really want to be there. So, any questions from our audience yet, you guys?
I do think we have one in the chat. I'd be happy to read it for you if you'd like, Joyce.
Go right ahead.
Question for the panelists. Are you using meta programs or eye-accessing pattern strategies to detect when someone is real with you or just making stuff up or really just well-rehearsed? But then 3 months later, they turn out not to be who they said they were, and then you have to start the hiring process all over again.
Wow, that's a mouthful. You're going to take that, Adam?
I'm happy to. And I'm going to say there are so many misconceptions about our recruiting profession. And for me, like the bots that scan your resume, like all those things, they exist, but those are so expensive that many companies, even big ones, don't have those or access to those. And frankly, they hired me. They pay me plenty of money to be able to use my background and knowledge on people to be able to kind of decipher that. So I'd say you're looking at our eye sensing and meta programs right here on this panel. So I just use, emotional intelligence and, some skills and tools that I have in my box, and just communication and trying to read between the lines. But I'm going to be honest, it is very much a subjective sport that we operate in. Not one recruiter has the same thoughts or feelings. So you could perform the same in 12 interviews and get 12 different responses with the same kind of people in the room. So it's a lot of that. I know that maybe answered a little bit, but I'd love to popcorn it over to my other panelists.
Sure, happy to join in here. As Adam said, I don't know about you guys, but we don't use any sort of those, special technologies there. I think the way I personally try to assess this, as you said, Adam, emotional intelligence, for me, more than this too, I would say the art of questioning, and let me detail that a bit more. There are different ways of asking questions, and open-ended questions, for example, give you so much more than yes or no questions. And for example, leading an interview, asking only or mostly open-ended questions or situational questions with good follow-ups after this will get you to the bottom of things. And it's also subjective, and it's not a science, but it's going to help you get there, I think. And something else that I know we do in our processes to also help, basically not wake up 3 months after and be like, wait, we need to do the whole process again, because I think that's a nightmare for everyone. It's technical assessments. We have written tests, technical assessments for literally all of our processes, no matter the the team you're a part of. And I think for us that also helps assess how much of a doer really you are, and how much you can really accomplish in the job. So that would be my inputs.
Love it, love it. You are the program that sees it.
We are.
If I could share something, I was sharing a story that I was at the mall a couple of weeks ago, and there was this machine that said security. And I was just thinking, well, if someone attacks me, I would have loved for there to be a human being that could maybe hopped over the ledge, right? And gotten there and helped me, because I just thought with the machine that the machine wouldn't be able to go over the ledge, first of all. Maybe they could call someone or warn someone. But I very much think that there's this human aspect of sales and recruiting. And I'm not saying I love platforms. I love the Strength Finder. I love all these different things, assessments and personality assessments that companies give people. But I don't think we can remove the human factor from that. And so the team is warning me that I am going over time. Is that's what they're looking at me for? Time flies when you're having a lot of fun, and it just does. I can't believe it's time already. But thank you for that question, Natalie. I know Natalie sent us a video that I'm not sure if we teed it up earlier, but we can tee it up again so that she can share some of her programs with individuals. And Natalie, I appreciate that, that question. But I do just think that there's some areas that we shouldn't even think about removing the human factor from. And if they're recruiting and sales, would definitely be it for me. It would just be it for me. I just think, should we end on that note?
My career agrees with you, Joyce.
Your career agrees with me. My career agrees with me. Right. So, you guys, we have this app here. The reason we have this app is we want to be able to provide you guys access to all of the speakers for a length of time. The app will be open for 3 months. If you forget something, you need to engage someone for something, you have a person. First of all, I'm going to let these people tell you how you can find them or follow them, because the reason that they've been selected for this panel is because they are people that feed into people. And I know that when you leave this room, if you're on LinkedIn or another platform, you're going to see something positive from them, and they're going to give you positive information. I like to say inform, educate, and engage you on the recruiting process to be able to help you get to where you want to go in your career. And I'm forever grateful to you guys for that. So Eleanor, how can everyone find you?
You're muted again.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I work remotely every day. I don't know how that still happens to me sometimes, but best place to find me is LinkedIn. So my full name, Eleonore Collet, on LinkedIn, super responsive over there. Otherwise, you have my email. That's going to be my first name @badgermapping.com.
And I think that everyone should have connected their LinkedIn to their profile. So you guys should be able to go into the app, look them up, and then go over to LinkedIn and, and send a connection or follow them. Adam?
LinkedIn is the name, or when you're on LinkedIn, if you're ever in Dallas, I'm here and ready.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. And Amber?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn. I was one of the first Amber Boones to get that custom URL. So mine is just Amber Boone in there. And then for email, it's first.last@insideoutsourcing.com. So absolutely feel free to reach out. Would love to connect with everybody in sales ever. Yep.
Awesome.
But I do have one thing to say.
Yes.
Can we get Adam and Eleanor to do a weekly podcast? Because I love hearing both of them speak. So.
Oh, that is awesome. The three of you should put something together. Yeah. At minimum, I'll gladly interview you guys, maybe once a month, and we talk about this on LinkedIn and Facebook, because I think people need to continuously hear it. I think there's always going to be a different audience. And I think that, people are learning from this, and it's going to help someone get a job. Can you guys, by the raise of hands, tell me if your company's hiring? All right, there it is. All their companies are hiring. So if you are looking for something, reach out, go to their websites, learn a little something, find out what type of opportunities are there. And then, hey, you already have an in with the recruiter. Compliments of Y Sales Network. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to bring Christian on to tell him how we're going to close out today. But thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you guys joining me today.
Thank you all.
Thanks
so much. Thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
So we're going to bring Christian over. I'm not sure if we have some other prizes or what's going to be